0, 1, 2, 3. Let's get started.
Real good.
Why they stopping me?
And then you told Joe Taylor what?
Now you better get this internet fixed. I don't want to hear no more of that Gig City crap.
Yeah, welcome to the Westbrook Christian Football Show with Coach Steve Smith. Jump right with this guy right here, this Yankee fan. This is J-Dub White.
Man, I'm just happy to hang out with the old ball coach. You know it's getting close to kickoff when the old ball coach comes in. Welcome, Coach.
Hey, glad to be here, man.
I'll tell you what's funny is every time you walk in the door, I'm coming down the hall trying to finish up whatever I'm doing, and it's like you guys pick up the conversation right where it left off last week.
Yeah. It's like days of our lives. It's like a soap opera. You miss it for a month or two, and then pick right back up.
Oh my God!
It's the same thing. It's just like a lot of your players over the years, Coach. I just take abuse from you. That's all. I just take abuse.
Well, he did. When I walked in, he was slamming you for being a freaking Yankee.
Well, shouldn't he?
He didn't say that, but he
shouldn't he?
Yankee.
I mean, he should. He represents your team. You should represent your team.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure.
I respect you representing your team. I hope they lose.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm so thankful that yours made the playoffs at least. Get something to build on for next year.
Okay.
Here we go.
But common ground, Phillies are out.
Yeah, Phillies are all right. That's a good thing.
That is a common.
I hate that the Mets won for the Phillies to be out, but
still,
maybe whoever's next can beat the Mets. Excuse me.
But that makes us look good that the Mets have continued after.
Right.
I know.
Right.
Case point. I'm with you. Coach, obviously this is your favorite week of the season, homecoming week. But before we get to that, let's talk about last week's game. And boy, it was. I think it matched the hype. It was a very competitive, well played out game. Kind of talk us through the ones who really don't know anything about the game last week. And the score, although 48-27, is a lot closer game than that.
Right. Yeah, we were in a situation where us and Ohatchee, we talk about this region every week. It's the same old, so we won't go that way.
Sure.
But us and Ohatchee both in situations where maybe not a must win, but you need to win that one to keep your hopes of making the playoffs, staying in front of some of the other ones in the field. So it was a huge game for us, and Ohatchee, they come out and they played well just like we thought they would. The score was tied 21 at halftime. We scored with about 3 or 4 seconds left in the half to tie it up, and then we got the ball first coming out the second half. We scored, took a lead. They immediately returned the ensuing kickoff for a touchdown, went for 2 and didn't get it, so we were up 28-27. And then from that point forward, we scored, ate up a good bit of the third quarter. They went 3 and out. We got the ball. We ate up a lot of the fourth quarter on the next possession and scored. They went 3 and out again, and when we ate up just about the rest of the game, I think we scored with 1:40 left in the game. And so in the second half, I think we had 38 plays to their 11, and at that point we had run I think we had run 38 plays and they had run 6 before the last 1:40 of the game. So great team effort overall. Defense did a really good job in the second half. You look at 27 points and you think, man, where was the defense at? But that really is misleading. They got behind us twice on big pass plays. It was 2 of their scores. I mentioned the kickoff return, and in the first score of the game when they went up 7-0, they returned a fumble for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So our defense played really, really well, I thought, other than the 2 big plays that we gave up. And offensively, I thought in the second half we kind of leaned on them a little bit, and I think our depth of playing guys one way versus them playing 6 or 7 guys both ways, I thought that really kind of took a toll on them as the second half wore on. And again, just being able to possess the ball offensively, I was very proud of our offense for being able to just basically hold the ball. I think time of possession in the second half was like 21 minutes our way and 3 minutes their way. So, that when you have those things go in your favor, you can overcome a couple of big plays. You could overcome a kickoff return. You can overcome, a fumble return for a touchdown. And we were able to come out with a big region victory.
Well, you guys carried the ball a lot, 50 times, averaging 5.2,
Yeah.
3 yards a carry. I mean,
I think we had 68 snaps for the game. Maybe they had like 39. So it was a big advantage for us. Like I said, they have some. Appalachia has some tremendous players, some tremendous skilled athletes that are very fast, and we have a tendency sometimes to give up a big play, and that's something that we continue to work on to try to eliminate, trying to keep people in front of us, trying to keep our cutback lanes on the run and stuff. But sometimes we get out of position and we play against people that have athletes like they have, and a lot of times they can make you pay for it, and that we were victimized by that again a little bit the other night.
Well, I don't want us to understate how good a job your defense did.
Right.
That's a team that scores 44 points a game.
Right.
I mean, they're explosive.
Right.
Which is, so again, hats off to that defense. And one of the benefits of you really want to help your defense offensively, run the ball.
Yeah.
Get them some rest, right?
A big shout out to Brad Lowe. He's our defensive coordinator, and he does a tremendous job each week of preparing our guys. And then Adam Brown coaches our defensive line, Wayne Lee coaches our linebackers, and they come up with a tremendous plan each and every week. And again, big plays are part of the game. You can't say but if they didn't do that, I mean they still count. But I've been very pleased with the preparation that those guys have had each and every week, putting our guys in position to be able to be successful, the kids buying into it. I feel like we've had solid defensive plans each of the last few weeks. It's just sometimes the other team's got playmakers that just make a play every now and then. And, we're working hard to try to eliminate those big plays, but can't say enough good things about our coaches for the prep that they put in and then the job our players do trying to execute it. And I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention Mark Sanders with our offensive line and Rob McHugh coaching at our receivers that helps on the offensive side. Kurt Durier for a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that he does, and Chad Phillips, our strength coach. I'm blessed to have a great group of men there that are, first of all, great men. Great influences for our kids, but then they do an outstanding job of coaching football and putting the time in each and every week and doing all of the little things behind the scenes that nobody else sees to be able to give our kids a chance to be successful. So I'm thankful for each of those guys.
Well, I'm looking at just some different information about your players and where they rank as far as their stats within the region, 3A Region 6. Blevins is second in rushing yards with over 1,048, almost 1,000. This kid is a sophomore.
Right.
He's playing his brains out.
Yeah, and Brody's about 175 pounds, and he thinks he's about 250. I've probably not done a very good job of taking care of him. You hear the term laying it all on the line, leaving it all on the field. Yeah. When you watch Blevins walk off after a ball game, I mean he's got a little limp here, and he's holding one arm's lower than the other one. His eyes are a little bit glossy looking. He just he's a kid that, man, just the effort and the energy he puts into every single snap. I mean, he's such a competitor. He don't like to lose a play, much less a game. And, that kind of leadership that you have from your guy that's calling the signals in the huddle earns the respect of everybody on the team. And, we've got a lot of kids that lay it out there for the team. I didn't even know there was region statistics, so that's pretty cool that you can tell me that. I just know that at the end of the night, we got a lot of guys that they are extremely exhausted when they walk in. And
I'm sure.
As a coach, that's what you ask of your players. Give us everything you got, leave it all on the field. And I couldn't be more proud of a group of guys than I was of our team this past Friday night.
That kind of sounds like when we play ball, everybody's coming off the field crippled and everything else. I mean, you're fine until that horn sounds. Yeah. But you've got Titus Jones, your outside linebacker.
Titus.
He's a sophomore. Right,
Mm-hmm.
He's number one in rank in the region as far as sacks goes. And then Noah Wright, middle.
Noah's the inside linebacker. Yeah, he's a senior. He's one of our senior captains. Wow. Just a hard-nosed kid.
You just got kids out there putting it all out there.
We do. Like I say, I can't complain. I've got zero complaints about the effort and the will that the kids have to be able to go out there and lay it on the line for the team each and every day at practice and on Friday nights. Couldn't ask for a better group of kids to work with for sure.
Jeff and I were talking the last couple of weeks about your guys being young, and it seems like we can't say that anymore. Because once you get a certain amount of games under your belt, you're not a sophomore anymore. And your kids are really coming to their own. And you said, like in one of the first couple shows, it's about how you're playing at the end of the year.
Right.
And you guys are trending in the right direction for sure.
So far, so good.
Yeah,
And we mentioned the word consistency a lot in our meetings, and that's what we're trying to develop. Last week was the first time that we put back-to-back solid outings together. Now, we had won our first 2 games
Sure.
back-to-back, but we didn't play very well the second time against Sachs. We'd been kind of a little bit of a roller coaster, really. Played pretty well week 3 at Locust Fork, but we come up short on the scoreboard. Didn't play very well against Piedmont, and we took a good beating that night. And then we played pretty well at Montford. And so I had kind of told the kids last week before the Ohatchee game, we got to break that trend. This is supposed to be our down week right here if you just look at the roller coaster. But to their credit, man, they laid it on the line. I thought we struggled a little bit in the first half, giving up some big plays, but the effort was there. And then the second half, I saw kind of something go off, like a light go off in their head, and it kind of clicked to them. Brody broke a long run there for about 60 yards and a touchdown that gave us a 2-score lead, and then there was extra bounce in their step and a little extra juice
Heck yeah.
that I hadn't seen from the kids before. That kind of almost like it was a moment where like, hey, I get it, and that was kind of a good thing. And I told them, I said, at the end of the game, those kids from Ohatchee, man, they were giving it everything they had, and they'd had a couple of guys that went out with one I think had a hamstring injury, and maybe one had a little concussion, minor concussion, and just at the end of the night, you could tell both teams had been in a ball game, and there was just a lot of tired kids that walked off the field that night, and I told them that's what it's supposed to feel like when you lay it on the line.
Jeff loves to talk about halftime adjustments.
Right.
Some coaches are known to be incredibly good in that area, and others not so much. What's kind of your philosophy going in with halftime adjustments and so forth?
Well, first thing you need to figure out is there an adjustment that needs to be made, or is it an execution problem? Sometimes
Heck yeah.
the adjustment is that we just need to execute better.
It's a good adjustment, right?
I mean,
It's fair.
You game plan, you practice, and you feel like you got a good plan, but then sometimes you don't execute it. And one of the things, I usually try to talk to the guys as a whole at first, and then I like to try to break up and Coach Lowe. But one of the things I remember Coach Lowe telling our defensive guys the other night is, we're where we're supposed to be. You know what you're supposed to do. Somebody's just got to make that play.
Okay.
And and there's a lot of truth to that. Sometimes, as coaches, we can overthink things and we can outthink ourselves even. But if you're solid in your plan, you're solid in where you're supposed to be, and it just comes down to making a play. I've said since I've been at Westbrook, it certainly doesn't feel like a lot of times the 50-50 plays have 50-50 results. Ooh. It seems like the 50-50 plays usually are about 75-25 the other way, and until we can get the tables turned to where we're making more of those plays than we're giving up. And in the second half the other night, I started to see us making those plays. I started seeing the 50-50 ball, that we knocked it down, or we made the play on the ball, or we made a catch in double coverage. Maximus Jones had a great catch in the second half that was in basically double, even triple coverage. I mean, probably looking at the film, Brody probably didn't need to make that throw, but he put it up there, and Maximus went up in between 3 guys and came down with it. It was just, it was a time where the Westbrook guy made the play, and that's what we've been preaching to him, and I believe that comes with experience. It comes with confidence. Mm-hmm. It comes from wanting to be in that position. You transfer it over to other sports. Do you want to be shooting a 1-and-1 with 5 seconds left to go, down by 1? Do you want to come to bat with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th and tie and run on second base? I mean, it's a mentality type thing. Do you want to bat in that situation, or do you really hope that they'll walk you and you can put it on the next guy?
Yeah.
And
Great analogy.
In football, it comes down 4th and 1. You got to stop the other team. Do you really want to be the guy to make that play, or do you really hope somebody else makes it? And same thing when you got the ball on offense. Do you want coach to call your number to run it on 4th and 1, or do you hope he gives it to somebody else? And part of the maturity process of getting older and getting more experience, when you get a team full of guys that say, hey, run behind me.
I want the ball.
I want the ball.
Yeah.
I want to be the one at bat. When you get everybody in your program to where they don't mind being that guy when the game's on the line, then you got something special.
it reminds me, everybody talks about Michael Jordan. He wanted the ball in his hand at the end of the game, right? But you kind of knew Jordan was going to take that shot.
Yep.
But you look at somebody like Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, you wanted the ball at the end of the game in his hand because he was going to create the best opportunity to get the best score.
Well, I've heard Michael Jordan before. When people ask him about the 200 and some odd game-winning shots that he made at the buzzer.
Yeah.
What made him have the confidence to make them? He said the 400 and something that I missed.
You're right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He said you can't be willing. He said you can't be afraid to miss and not take the shot.
He also said, "Thank God for Steve Kerr."
Well,
Boy, I bet.
And there were plenty of times other guys
Absolutely
bailed him
right.
out.
He was a nightmare out there beyond the arc.
You obviously can't be scared to take the shot if you're going to make the shot.
Yep.
So how important is it that when you need a bucket, right, you got an athlete like Blevins to be able to do that?
Well, and we still need to get to a point where we can be a little bit more diverse
Sure.
because everybody in the stadium a lot of times knows who's going to carry the ball. And it's tough enough.
And he loves it.
Well, he loves it. It's tough
Yeah.
enough to get 2 or 3 yards when you got to get 2 or 3 and you've run it 25 times already. It's tough if you got to get 2 or 3 yards and everybody in the stadium, including the other team, knows that you're going to be carrying it. So Coach Smith's got to do a better job of being able to have some other guys in position to make those plays to take a little bit of the focus off of him because the coaches get comfortable with and get confident in certain things at certain times with a certain play call with a certain player, and a lot of times I get blinders on and I have to do a better job. I need to do a better job of getting us so we can be a little bit more diverse in those situations. So that we can be successful because it's tough a lot of times when you stack the line and they say, hey, quarterback's going to run it right here.
Right.
And I'm stubborn.
Well, you got a lot of weapons out there. You got Reed Barber. Number one kicker in the region. The kid can kick the ball. He's consistent.
He's going to be so good.
I mentioned about Reed. He's in the last 2 games, bumper game, and then the other game at Sohatchee, he's 11 touchbacks. People don't understand.
That's
11,
unbelievably important.
11 touchbacks and three perfectly placed squibs or pooch kicks, and he's kicked 2 out of bounds. Which, if you want, and I always tell him, I'm going to highlight the negative too. So he has kicked 2 out of bounds, but
He's a sophomore.
But otherwise, people don't understand in high school with the rules still being started on the 20. 80 yards is a long way to go for a team. And complimentary football we talk about. Reed kicks it in the end zone. We don't need to let them throw it over our head. We need to keep making them snap the ball. So that's something that we're continuously working to improve on. But Reed Barber is such a weapon for us. And I think he's 5 out of 6 on the year in field goals. I think he's missed 1 PAT. So try not to put a jinx out there.
That's fake wood. Don't hit him.
Yeah, it's not real wood, Coach.
Jerry's head.
That's good.
So,
You wouldn't touch the Yankee hat.
Anyhow,
Good.
but that is such a big time weapon for us with him being able to kick the ball in the end zone. When he hasn't kicked in the end zone, been very pleased with our kickoff coverage. Like I said, this is coming on the heels of me talking about giving up a kickoff return for a touchdown. But
Did you see what Brad Jones said?
It's a great comment. Coach, you're about to get coached up a little bit here, okay?
Who's going to coach
All
me
right,
up?
this is Mr. Jones, Brant Jones. He says, they can't return those out of bounds kicks, Coach.
That's true. Brant's right on that.
It is true.
That's a great point.
The kid, he's 39 yards. This is long. So he is getting stronger and stronger and
He's
better.
gonna be so
better.
good.
And a lot of kids, or a lot of schools at 3A, 2A, 3A, even we've been around 4 and 5A doing games. A lot of those schools don't have kickers at all.
Right.
And they don't never kick the ball, and I think that's a huge weapon.
Well, my high school coach told me one time when he didn't have a lot of confidence in his kicker, he said, if you go for 2 every time, you only have to make half of them. and that makes good sense. I'm a math guy, Now it hurt my feelings a little bit because I was the kicker. But there was a lot of truth to it. If you just got to make half of them, it's like making all your extra points.
Yeah.
That's what.
But
and we love talking Yogi Berra, right?
That's
One of his favorite quotes is he got credit for. I don't know if he said it or not. I didn't hear it, but 90% of the game's half mental, Coach.
Yep.
90% is half mental.
And what do you also say? 60% of all stats are made up.
I made that one.
You did.
That was my saying. 60% of all stats are made up.
Oh my gosh! Let me ask you a career question.
Yes, sir.
What moment? And you've got a storied career. You do. You're a long-term coach. You've done it. You've been successful at it. You've gone through the growing pains. You've gone through the formation of formulating who you are as a coach and all that jazz. But what moment, or even moments, I'm sure there's a couple, are you most proud of in your career, both in coaching and in education? Because you're an educator above all.
Well, there are some defining moments in everyone's life. I guess one of the first moments that come to my mind is what I call a thankful moment, and that was after the 95-96 school year, after I completed my very first year as a head coach at Cedar Bluff, as a young 25-year-old that didn't know anything. My first moment is actually a moment of gratitude to Bobby Mintz. A lot of people around here know Brian Mintz is the FCA guy, but Bobby's his younger brother. Both of them went to Southside. But Bobby was my principal at Cedar Bluff. And the first defining moment in my career was him bringing me back for a second year.
It's a good moment.
Listen, I don't say that lightly, because we were 2-8. Cedar Bluff is a proud community with a proud football tradition, and I was a hard guy to play for. My first team, we finished with 13 players, and we were not successful at all at 2-8. Lost to all of our rivals, and
Even Galesville?
Even Galesville. They beat us 14-6. I never will forget that night.
Sorry,
Coach. And our big rivals at the time was Sandrock. We lost 13-12 game 2 of the year, and then we lost to Galesville 14-6 game 9 of the year. So I had bookend bad losses at home to both of our rivals, and Mr. Mintz probably had every reason in the world to regroup and punt and get somebody else. He just brought me in, though. We talked a little bit about things. He had been the head coach the 2 years prior to me, and then he had ascended to the principal's job. And I just so happened I could teach math, which is what he taught, and I coached football and baseball, which is what he coached. And I was July the 28th hire, so it wasn't like he had time to go find. He was kind of desperate when he took me. And really, realistically, the way it turned out that year, I mean, he would have been justified probably to let me go and take the off season and go find somebody else. But I'm really appreciative to Mr. Mintz for giving me a second opportunity there to grow and learn. And I had some great people in Joe Carpenter, Jason Howard, and Dwayne Pierce that were helping me, that stuck by me. So one of the first defining moments in my coaching career was just really a moment of gratitude for having that second chance of getting to do it, and then not being so stubborn to think I knew everything. I still had my high school coach around, Coach Johnson, still had Coach Burgess around that I could call. Coach Jake away at Sandrock, who was our rival, that served as a good mentor for me. Had some guys that I could call on and say, hey, I need some help. How do you do this? Because, I mean, there's just a lot of things about being a head coach. Until you are one, you don't realize a lot of those things that have to be done. So that would be one. And then, there's games, I guess, that might stick out in your mind of where you feel like you and the team kind of got over the hump. I mean, there were those defining moments at Cedar Bluff, at Piedmont, and hopefully that defining moment's coming soon at Westbrook Christian, to where we can say now, every time we walk on the field, we expect to win the game. And I can remember pretty distinctly when those moments happened at my previous stops, and I feel like we're getting really, really close at Westbrook Christian, to where our guys are going to have that attitude. And when they get that mentality, you go back to what your stat was about mental. Really half the game is mental. You got to believe that you can win. And I feel like our kids are getting very, very close to that point, to where we realize now if we do what we're supposed to do, it doesn't matter what's on the other sideline. Yeah. And when you're dealing with 15 to 18-year-olds, they read all the junk that y'all put out there in the media, and all the predictions and all that stuff. I mean, they read all that stuff, and so it's not. It is rat poison. Is what it is. And they a lot of times have things already formulated in their mind on how the game's supposed to go based on all the hype that everybody's putting out there. And it's a great feeling as a coach when you walk out on the field on a Friday night and your kids don't care who's on the other side.
Heck yeah.
That's a really, really good feeling. Yeah. And I think we're getting closer and closer to that at Westbrook, and our youth program's doing a good job. Our middle school team, JV team, they're all having success, and just got to, there's a few little obstacles that we got to get over, but I think those are the kind of moments that I can relate back to, from a professional standpoint, you know, and just like it is human nature, Jeff, I guess the games that are moments that stick out in my mind, this sounds terrible, but it's more losses probably than it has been wins.
Sure.
Because you realize at a particular point in time, you know, I failed my team. If I could have done a little bit more here, if I'd done something a little different here, you know, I think coaching probably only makes a real difference in maybe only 25% of the games. Most of the time, the better teams win.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching might make a difference in one out of every four, but on my end, I kind of felt like I've been more instrumental in the losses than I have in the wins. I feel like, you know, that I go back to some of those losses and I think, man, I didn't do a good job. If I could have done a little bit better here or there, I could have given us a lot better chance to win the game. But I'd say probably a vast majority of the games that our team has been on the winning side, it's been because we was better.
How do you deal, like you just talked about your kids, your student athlete watching socials and hey, what these guys are saying or what they're not saying about us, that it gets in their head. But as a coach, you've got parents, alumni, you're expected to win, right? They don't hire football coaches or baseball coaches or basketball coaches or track coaches to come in and just be mediocre or to lose. So how do you handle, in just a brief set, because I think it's important to humanize Coach Smith sometimes, you're right? Everybody looks at you, the state championship coach, the region coach, the guy that's won all these awards and these championships and produced a lot of college ball players. So they're seeing stars, right? But how do you deal with the armchair quarterbacks that are sitting in the stands and criticizing, well, you ain't doing this and you ain't doing that? How do you handle that?
You know, I try to just take it with a grain of salt. I try to just, you know, look at it from a perspective that I feel like, and again, this is, and unless you're in sports and care about sports, it don't make sense what I'm fixing to say, but all of us guys that grew up playing football, I think there's a little bit of coach in all of us.
Agreed.
Sure.
I mean, that's what you do when you can't play anymore. When you can't play anymore, you coach.
If you can't coach, you just talk about it.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
But I think football has such a deep root in so many men's lives that so many men, even if they're building houses, if they're working at the bank, if they're general contractors, whatever they're doing, most of those guys that can go back to a football past, there's a little bit of coach in all of us. And look, I tell you, there's sometimes some of them guys probably, they may even be right. If we'd have done this, if we'd have done that. I'll tell you straight up, I critique myself all the time about I wish I'd have done this differently. I wish I'd have called this at this particular point in time. But I finally realized one day that probably 90% of the guys that are in the football stadium on Friday night would love to trade places with me on Friday night.
No question. No question.
But they don't want to trade places with me on Sunday through Thursday.
That's right.
And so, you know, when you just look at it like that, it's easy. It's easy on Friday night from up there to maybe see something that I just missed on the field or messed up on. You know, I think one of the things that kill coaches a lot of times is the advent of the telestrators and stuff on the instant replay because, you know, if you give Tony Romo a chance to watch it 3 or 4 times and then draw it during that break in between plays, well, he can show you how that guy come open, how the safety fell down. But Tony Romo also played for a long time, and he'd tell you right off the bat it wasn't near as easy when you had 4 300-pounders coming at you trying to kill you.
Sure.
You can see everything from up top.
Yeah.
But when Blevins drops back to pass for us and he didn't hit that guy that's wide open, if you ain't out there and seeing those 9 bodies of humanity that's obstructing everything that he's got going on in front of him, it's a lot easier to do it from the press box than it is to do it down on the field.
Well, that's true.
And from a coaching perspective, you know, I'll put it this way, every time we call a play, every time I send a play in, it's designed to score. I hadn't called a play before that I hope this gets hit in the backfield. I hope they sack us. Every time we call something, it's designed to score.
Incomplete pass.
And then sometimes the other team just executes, you know. And defensively, every call we make on defense is designed to keep them from scoring. And sometimes they still get behind us on a long pass play. Yeah. You know, but I do realize, because I think everybody's got a little bit of that coach in them that's ever played the game, I don't take it personal. I mean, it really don't bother me. I like myself a lot, and I'm way too confident in what I'm doing.
Not me.
Kirkpatrick said, "Not me, coach. You don't want it.
Yeah.
You don't want to coach."
Well, but I'm confident enough in what I'm doing.
Sure.
Now I tell them, and
You
I
gotta
tell them
be.
at the school, my job, I'm athletics director and football coach. I'm not on textbook committee, and I'm not on the budget committee. I'm not on. I try to stay in my lane and try to do my part to make Westbrook Christian successful in what they've commissioned me to do. That doesn't mean I don't care about all the other aspects.
Oh, sure.
I'm a team player. I love the kids at the school. I try to have a good time at the school day with them. But I feel very confident in the talents that I've been given to be able to coach and be able to do it for a long time. And doesn't mean that I'm gonna be right 100% of the time. I'm gonna mess up, and I get it. And I'm big enough to own that whenever it happens. But I just think there's a lot in those men that are in the bleachers that they'd love to swap places with me from 7 to 9:30 on Friday nights.
Depends on who you're playing, Coach.
Because it's in their blood.
Yeah, right.
Depends on who you
Depends on
play. Hey, but to close that out, Mr. Mintz made a great hire because the next 2 seasons, what was that, Coach? 8-4, 11-1. I think he did
Pretty
okay.
good.
I
Pretty
think
good.
he did
This
okay.
Well, I had some help. I will say that the advice that those people that gave me and his willingness to give me a second chance, and he even was a good mentor for me because he coached football. And he knew the lay of the land at Cedar Bluff. And then having those 3 guys that I mentioned as assistant coaches that hung in there with me, it was definitely a team effort.
Good morning, Marty. So we hadn't talked about this at all, and we'll try to wrap this up a little bit. It's homecoming week.
Yep.
You guys are so busy.
Yeah.
Right? We've been putting out the different activities and things that's going on, and there's just something special if you're not the head football coach about homecoming.
Hey, look,
Focus matters, right?
I just stay out of the way. I told the kids, I said, our job's to put a good product on the field Friday night at 7. We still gonna have practice, but I try to stay out of the lane, or stay in my lane, stay out of everybody's way, and have a good time with everybody at the school. It's been a fun week at the school thus far, and the kids are getting to enjoy all the stuff that they normally enjoy, and on our end, it's our job to go out there and win a football game on Friday night.
Who was in the paint job? Who painted up like Braveheart?
Oh, that was
Dr.
Dr. Ellison.
Dr. Ellis, that's
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
was great. He did good.
That was great.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Dr. Ellison, he's a great guy at the school, and the kids really love him and respect him. Number one, the kind of man he is, but number 2, he gets into some of that stuff, and
Heck
he
yeah.
goes all out with it.
Somebody want to know if you were going to dress up as a football coach.
I'm going to impersonate one.
So most of you really don't know much about Innovation Academy out of Tennessee, a first-year program. But Jeff and I were talking yesterday. The area they're in, they're going to get players.
Oh yeah, they their first year in the Tennessee High School Athletic Association. They've played 8-man football up until this year. They're 11-man football. They got a 37-man roster. They got 16 seniors, I believe it is, on the roster. So they got an older, experienced team.
Yeah.
But they're, I always say this wrong. It's not a charter school. It's not a magnet school. Maybe it's a magnet school.
Okay.
It's a STEM school. It's kind of like the school, I think it's in Mobile, the science technology, that they can draw kids from anywhere.
Correct.
Now, I don't know what their eligibility rules is about districts or not have been in district, but it's
They're in Nashville, right?
no.
I think they're in Nashville.
They're in I want to say it's Robertsdale County,
Okay.
but it's about 30 minutes from Austin P.
Oh, okay.
So that's Clarksville, I believe, in
Yep,
Austin P.
yep,
Right?
yep, mhm.
I think it's Roberts.
You get
It's
some
either
football players over there.
Robertsdale County. I think it's Robertsdale. It's Innovation Academy of Robertsdale County or something.
Okay.
But anyhow, they're about 3.5 hours away, and they're in a situation with them being a first-year member of the Tennessee High School Athletic Association. Tennessee is right in the middle of their classification. They'll reclassify at the end of the year this year. So
Gotcha.
that's why we don't know for sure if we'll go up there next year or not. It'll be when they're placed in a region, whether or not they're open week 7. If they are, we plan on going to their place next year. If not, we'll be looking for a game during this week. But anyhow, because they come in the middle of a period, they're not eligible for the playoffs up there. They're not in a region. So they had to fill the schedule. I know he told me he's got a team from Cincinnati that they're playing in 2 weeks. They're coming to play us tomorrow night. My 2 film swaps with them from the last 2 has been against South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, who is a perennial small school power in Tennessee, and Brentwood Academy.
Oh,
They played Brentwood Academy last week. I told him, I said, after I got those two films, I said, well, after y'all come play us, y'all going to play. We're a JV team after playing those two
Bishop
teams.
Gorman's not available?
Well, they've played Nashville Christian already. Like I said, they've got a team from Cincinnati that they're playing coming up in a couple weeks. So they're doing a lot of traveling just to get a 10-game varsity schedule this year, and then they'll be in a region next year. But, size-wise, I think I read there are 320 students in grades 9 through 12, so they're about like a 4A school would be here, a large 3A, small 4A school here in Alabama.
After watching film on them, what can the fans expect to see from that program?
Well, they're a wing T based team on offense, and then defensively they're just a 3-3 stack, cover 3 team. They don't have anybody that just jumps off the film at you and says that's their go-to guy, and they're just solid at what they do. On our end, it's like I said, it's hard to watch them and get a good, accurate read on what they are against Brentwood. I think the final was 56-0. Well,
Still,
Brentwood's quarterback's committed to Tennessee.
Yeah.
They've got offensive lineman, defensive lineman that's committed to Georgia. Their kicker's committed to Stanford. So, it's hard to get a good gauge on what Innovation Academy is because they're playing against a team that's probably one of the top 5 to 10 teams in the state of Tennessee in the largest classification. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to get a gauge there. But Brentwood and them had South Pittsburgh, all of them had openings on their schedule because nobody really wanted to play them outside their region. So
I don't blame them.
Innovation Academy became the team that said, we'll play y'all, and so I think they gave them a little money, and they went and were their homecoming opponent, and the scores kind of indicated that they were outmanned a little bit. But again, they're a lot more in line with their enrollment and with their number of players to play against people like us than they are playing Brentwood.
Who was their head coach?
Stephen Weaver is the guy that I've been communicating with, and even when we scheduled the game, I don't think he was by name the head coach. He was the guy. He was the athletic director that was making the schedule, but he's been my point of contact the entire time with him. So super nice guy. We've had a lot of great conversation, and just I'm thankful that they're willing to come now because we had basically exhausted anybody in the state of Alabama because week 7 there's only a handful of teams that are not playing region games.
Sure.
And in Georgia, everybody said, well, you're right there on the Georgia line. The problem is in Georgia, most of those schools, they front-end load their schedules with non-region games, and then after about week 4, they're region the rest of the way through. So, this just happened through a mutual friend, a guy named Brad Wagner, that was the coach at Gatlinburg Pittman. He had been at South Pittsburgh. He put me in touch with South Pittsburgh's coach who said he didn't have anything, but he knew somebody that did.
Okay.
And that's how I found Innovation Academy was basically through that series of phone calls.
Pittman's a great program too, by the way.
And they went to the semifinals last year. It was the first time in their program history. They went to the semifinals, and then Coach Wagner, he took a job down in Florida.
Hope he's okay. Man, they get hit pretty hard, didn't they?
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, you want to talk about, Jeff, what we're doing here? We don't have a huge food giveaway we do every month here, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let Jeff talk about what we're doing this month.
Yeah, real quick. A lot of people rely on it. We feed over 350 to it's getting close to 400 people now every month here that are in our community that are needy. But this month we will not be having a food distribution here. 100% of what we have will be sent to Florida, North Carolina this time. It's flying in this time to North Carolina. We're partnering up with Southside Baptist Church. They have a private a pilot that is being allowed to fly a cargo plane, and I think some of the churches that are connected with Westbrook are all in this thing together. Yeah. So there will be no food distribution here this month, but I want to point everybody that needs food, and there's a lot of people out there, to New Liberty Tabernacle in East Gadsden. And then also to, I call it White's Chapel, but it's not White's Chapel. It's
always White's Chapel.
Church at Wills Creek.
Yeah, Wills Creek.
They have it as well. So there's plenty of opportunities to get food out there, but we didn't want to. We would be remiss if we didn't mention that because a lot of people rely on it. Yeah. But right now, there's a lot of people that are devastated and have no road access to even get food in. So they're having to fly it in. Samaritan Purse is putting it on a helicopter, and they're choppering it into places that cannot get access to roads. So thank you for saying that too, by the way.
It's important because a lot of people, again, depend on it, but after, it wasn't an easy decision, but
No.
a prayerful decision. That's where impact. I mean, it was so greatly needed. We think we impact the most people by joining up with a few other churches and sending it there. So I didn't mean to get off football, Coach.
No,
But
I think that's a great idea. I know as a community member, I'm proud of you guys in your church and all the other churches pitching in to help those folks, because I think we can. The Bible teaches us what good is it to recognize a need and then not meet a need.
Come on.
And I think we all can sit. It's easy to sit there and look at the pictures and the videos of what's going on and say, man, that's got to be tough for those people. But then if you just put your phone down and don't do anything about it, have you really done the calling of what the Lord wants you to do? So
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys not only recognizing the need but stepping out and meeting the need.
Amen.
Coach, any final thoughts? Again, it's a homecoming's so much fun. It's going to be. I'm hearing some special concession items may be on tap this week.
I don't know. I don't never get to go to the
what I
concession stand
heard.
during the game.
Are the floats still lined around the field right now? Or are they?
No, I think they'll pull them up to the school tomorrow, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, and
Yeah.
they'll take their spot. I think they usually park them down the road, coming from behind the baseball field down to the stadium.
Yeah.
I learned a lot last year about homecoming at Westbrook.
I bet you did.
It's a competitive week for sure as it comes to float building, and I think there's a lot of old timers that shake the rust off and get out there and get into construction mode again. So
Hey, we rode around last year.
lot of
We
fun.
came over your spot and rode around and looked.
We
at
did.
it.
It was
yeah.
crazy. There's people everywhere. And again, rumor has it, Westbrook could be bringing in a special covered dish homecoming meal.
You see what she said. You see what Carrie said.
What did Kerry say?
Look,
He gets the bacon on Thursday mornings, though, Coach.
that's exactly right. I will shout out to our Thursday morning parent group that feeds us
Yes.
after practice on Thursday morning. They had some technical difficulties this morning, but they still got the bacon done. I
Come
appreciate
on.
all those ladies, all those guys.
Heck yeah.
Pancakes and bacon this morning. I know our guys went to school and needed a nap.
That's never bad,
I
right?
bet them teachers are so excited.
I don't care what the
Hey, it's
question is.
homecoming week. Everything goes, right? I mean, it's
Sure.
all.
I don't know.
Hey,
They ain't
it's
teaching nothing, no way.
I didn't say that. You
Whoa. All I'm saying, I don't care what the question is. Bacon's always a good answer.
That's a good answer.
I'm
You
just
had
saying.
bacon this morning.
I had bacon this morning.
You did. Send me a picture of it.
I
Rub it
did.
in my face. Yep.
I did.
Maple bacon.
It was good
Me.
too. No, it was spicy garlic bacon. Sorry.
Oh, was that what it was?
It
Spicy garlic.
Yeah, it was really good. Again, Coach, we look forward to the continuing on in the season. Big game. Get out, support, get there early.
Yep.
A lot of stuff to do. It's going to be a huge crowd. You guys are going to be rowdy.
Right. I'm hoping so. The rowdier the better as far as the home field advantage. I really appreciate our support, and I appreciate our crowd and our fans and just everybody that has anything to do with the program at Westbrook. It's been a lot of fun thus far, and it's just going to get better.
That's awesome.
I think this show could use bacon, Carrie.
Yeah, we could. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Go
it.
Warriors.